I'd like to welcome you to Uncut Threads. It's our weekly chat where we get real, we get inspired, and we get connected, and we talk about quilting and fabrics. Want to let you know, this is a judgment-free zone, your cultural confidence booster, and a space where we can learn from each other. My name is Cheryl Hills, and I'm a member of the Quilt Africa Fabrics tribe, and I'll be guiding us through a conversation today with two special guests. My first guest I'd like to introduce to you is Elaine Lauder Millington. She's a talented garment maker, a longtime sewing educator. She brings many years of sewing, not only as a maker, but as a teacher who once ran her own studio in the basement of her home. Her creating journey spans both quilting and garment construction, and she works comfortably with anything from free community patterns to purchased patterns. We'd like to welcome Elaine to the panel. Welcome, Elaine. Do you have anything else you'd like to add? Anything else that I might have missed?
Oh,
correct.
Am I on? Okay. Do you hear me? Okay. Happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me. I love quilting and dressmaking, as you say. I sew especially for my granddaughter. Well, and I'd love to share anything, sewing related with, all the people I meet. I belong to Sew Creative Lounge Sewing Group out of Maryland, and I'm having fun.
Great. Thank you, Elaine. And next I'd like to introduce Candace Phelps. Now, Candace is a dynamic teacher, a prolific quilter, and a true creative force behind all things sewing. Her experience spans across garment making, bag making, quilting. She's also had many years of working in a quilt store, so her knowledge of textiles and fabric is extensive. She also teaches here in the Washington, Maryland, D.C. area, and she inspires lots of quilters in all things quilting. Most recently, Candace celebrated her debut quilt show called Together, which was presented alongside a fellow quilt artist, which I think she knows very well. It was her mother. I had the wonderful opportunity to visit the exhibit, and the quilts and the fiber art was fantastic. So I'd like to welcome Candace to our discussion today as well. Welcome, Candace.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. That's a very nice opening. Thank you. It's nice to be here with you and Elaine.
Fantastic. So today we are going to be discussing free patterns versus fair play, valuing the work of pattern designers. And we're going to discuss things like the abundance of free online patterns. There's so many out there, and you can get them from just about anywhere. And also the ability to purchase pre-made patterns. We'll talk about the marketing. We'll talk about its effect on the quilting community. But before we get started, I'd like to start with Elaine. And Elaine, can you just discuss a little bit about your quilting experience? Do you use free patterns? Do you use purchase patterns? What has your experience been so far?
Well, Cheryl, I use a combination. If I'm scrolling through Facebook or something and I see a free pattern that interests me, I'll download it and work with that. I also like to purchase quilt patterns. Recently, I try and stay on track, but I often venture off. But I did do something recently working with another modem that didn't usually work with before, was with quilting with wool. And it was something called Words in Wool that I purchased from one of the sewing features on Facebook. No, sorry, YouTube. And I'd like to share some of what I did. It was a pre-made kit. This one
nice.
was for it was words and wool for months of the year. So my vision was for my granddaughter, because she's 4.5 now, but when I started this, she was 2. I wanted her to, get used to the months of the year and the holidays. So this is October's Halloween. And in the kit came the wool, and the letters all came out. You had to use the wool, the lettering to do the wool. And then I embellished with buttons and other little leaf items on top. So this was for Halloween. Yep. So what you did was you would trace the letters. I used a light board. Trace the letters onto a fusible on the back of the wool. And then rip it off, and then just sew it, zigzag it along the edge to lay it down. And then it can hang like November's, giving thanks. You can hang it up.
Oh, cute.
And each month had a theme. Valentine's Day, then you have winter, and then December's I included was Christmas. But with my Christmas, I put Happy Kwanzaa at the beginning, and then January I also put Kwanzaa. And then you iron it down, and then you zigzag over it just to make sure it stays. So it's 2 pieces of wool, and then you hang it up by the hanger right here. And it's 12 of them, one for each month of the year. So each month she says, "Okay, we're ready for a new one," and she goes and gets it. So we're all set.
Elaine, can you hold up the next one and just hold on still for just a little bit longer?
Which one? All of them? You want this? Is okay. This is for Thanksgiving. Giving thanks.
Just the one in your hand right now.
Yeah.
Cute.
And what I did was I got an idea from another, because in the club, everybody posted their pictures, and then they started doing buttons. So I went and found the buttons just to give it a little more pizzazz.
Right. Nice.
Very nice.
Very creative.
That was that. Then I took a breather and I'm on to something else. So yeah. So that's what I'd like to share.
And do you have any other you want to tell us?
No. Just these 3. So this was Halloween, and then Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Thanks. Those are very, very nice. We're going to move on to Candace. And same question. Can you just tell us a little bit about your experience? Do you use ready-made purchase patterns? Do you use your own? Do you go online and download free patterns? What's your experience been?
Well, my experience, it's like Elaine, a combination of both, but I prefer to create my own quilt design. With quilting, using some of the basic blocks and things, but maybe using it in your own way. I like to do that, whether it's cutting it up or putting the colors in a certain way and then maybe adding some mixed media or something to it to make it different. I like to do things like that with my own design. And sometimes I take like a quilt pattern that's just basic, and then I'll layer something on it. And I'm starting to do that. I have a project now I'm working on. It was a very basic baby kind of pattern, but I'm turning it into this garden kind of thing. I know it doesn't make sense to me saying it. It's one of those, it's in my mind. I can't really, once it's done, it'll make sense. It's one of those things. It's like,
Visionary.
man, yeah, it's like, I'm envisioning these huge blooms on this background of this basic thing that I made. So, that's what's happening with that. So it'll start out one way, and then it's just like it's something else speaks to me, and then I'm like, okay, it's this will be beautiful this way, and I'm gonna call it this. But with patterns, I do use patterns, especially when I'm working with paper piecing, because I like the paper piece. I like how pointy everything is, and blending all of those colors together. I like to do that. But as far as bags and tableware and things like that, I like to use the patterns. Some bags, of course, you can just use measurements, but I might mix it up with how I cut the fabric. Instead of it just being plain fabrics, I may use patches of mud cloth or Ankara together, or strips, or just something to break it up to make it a little more interesting. Or even home deck fabrics, because I had a home deck business for 30 years, a drapery workroom in this area. So I have a lot of drapery fabric to play with, a lot of different weights. So yeah, it's a combination of both.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we'll go back to Elaine. Elaine, when it comes to having a purchased pattern, do you have a designer or designers that you prefer? Or your favorites, or your go-to?
Growing up, my mother always used to make my clothes from Vogue. I still gravitate to Vogue for clothing. I don't know if it's because I've been exposed to it. It's just that for me, some of the designers in Vogue are more clean cut, and I just more or less gravitate to that. For my granddaughter, though, I like the simplicity, I should say, of Simplicity and McCall's. So that's where I've gravitated to recently. So.
And Candace, do you have a pattern designer or company that you prefer to? It's your go-to, favorite?
Yeah, with clothing, I agree with Elaine. I do like Vogue. I do like the different patterns. Like, it's so creative. They come up with some real creative patterns there. I like using their pattern, and they come in multi-size, like my size, a larger size and things. But I do like the Know Me patterns. With Mimi G and Brittany and all of these new designers. I like that they've given them a chance to put out these different styles, not these basic full leg pants or your coordinate patterns where you get the duster, the jacket. You do need those patterns, but how many more of those can you purchase? I went through my pattern stash the other day, and I was just like, Uncut, why do I have so many coordinate patterns? Because when you're there, you're thinking, oh, I could always use it, but you have 6 others already.
Yeah, right.
You
forget you already have one. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You forget you have it, or maybe you cut it and now you're a different size, and let me pick up another one. That kind of thing. I do, as far as bags, I do like Sally Tomato. I like Noodlehead by Annie. I like those pattern companies for bags. But yeah, with clothing, I do like Vogue. I like So Creative's patterns. I also like Know Me. Yeah, those are the ones that I tend to go to. Mm-hmm.
Are there any quilt designers? Like, for me, one of my favorite quilt pattern designers, I kind of gravitate towards, now I can't even think of her name. Traditional patterns is what I like, but I like doing it with African print fabric. I have a stash of patterns myself, both garments, bags, Sally Tomato, and quilting. And I have to say that most of them are uncut as well, especially the quilting ones. I collect them, but I don't necessarily sew them. Is that your case? Do you have quilt patterns that just are uncut and not used, but Part of your
I don't
stash.
have quilt patterns. Well, I have like booklets. I like getting the bullets, like the books, like the New York Beauty book or Underground Railroad book. I just like to go through it and look at it, look at the techniques, and then think how can I do it faster or how can I do it, in African prints or because I kind of want to translate most things into colors that lend itself to like the African wax prints or the Ankara prints. It's just like if I could see it, then I'm like, oh, I got to do that. But again, mostly the patterns I purchase are paper piece patterns for quilts. Yeah, that's about the only ones. I'm getting ready to do this one that's got like 800 pieces I got to cut.
Oh dear.
But it's gonna be fun. Okay, it's a
paper piece.
It's Imogene Jensen pickled orange peel.
Whoa!
So you can see it. Is that too close?
Hold it just a
little further back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't want to wait 2 weeks for it to come from Australia, so I bought the PDF. I hate having a PDF, but it's one I want it now, even though I haven't cut it.
You wanted just to have it, just
so I can thumb through it and I can start, pulling all my little pieces. It takes 32 fat quarters of 32 fat quarters of color, and then 28 fat colors of background.
Wow. How big is what's the size when it's finished?
80 by 80.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, yeah, I like it because it has the paper pieced points, almost like a New York Beauty. You know how pickled orange orange peel is just round, doesn't have the points in it.
Mm-hmm.
So I could see the black being like a black and white mud cloth, maybe, like the print, not the actual mud cloth, and then all of the other Ankara colors around it. It's just the scale I'm having problems finding because sometimes the African prints have such a large scale.
Mm-hmm.
I'm having a hard time finding a 7-inch, something that fit in a 7-inch strip. So those are the kind of things that I have to work out, Mm-hmm.
But it's going to be beautiful when it's done.
Yeah.
So you talked a little bit about the value of a purchase pattern for you. Mm-hmm. It's going to be absolutely fabulous when it's done. That looks like a great quilt. How do you personally calculate the value of a purchase pattern for yourself? Is it valuing the time that the designer put into it? Is it the skill, their knowledge? Is it your cultural knowledge about how you want to use that pattern? What value does a purchase pattern bring for you?
For me? Well, for me, it's...
Yes, Candace, I'm sorry.
For instance, with this one, I know for sure because I follow her on Instagram. I see that she always makes these tests of them in different colors and in different sizes. So I know she tests the pattern for sure. The thing with some of the free patterns, free is free for a reason sometimes, so you almost have to make yourself a little test one first before you start cutting everything, and then you get yourself into real big trouble. The other person I like that gives free patterns with, of course, I'm sorry she had passed away. It was Donna Jordan. She gave a lot of really nice instruction, very clear cut measurements, and you could see her making it so you knew it would fit correctly and everything. So I really liked her free patterns. But as far as purchasing patterns and value, anything that I see, like even with Mimi G and Brittany Jones with the Know Me, they have the videos that go with them making it. That it's been tested. That's the good thing with Vogue, Simplicity, and those kind of, not necessarily the indie ones, that that they've tested them, they've been made. You can see them making it, and there shouldn't be any problems. Where I'm currently teaching now is So Creative. They also have people who test the patterns, so those patterns are very well done as well. So I like to see in some way, whether it's YouTube, whether it's Pinterest, whether it's Instagram, that they've actually made it, or there's steps of them making it, even if it's a short on YouTube. I'm like, oh, okay. And I see multiples that they actually, take the time to do it. Then that's a value to me, because then I don't have to do so many alterations, of alterations and cutting all these different muslins to make sure the jacket or dress or something fits. Or even with the curves, with this pickled orange peel, someone tried to do a knockoff of hers and send it out like it was hers, and it was very, very messed up. So you have to be really careful, because when people see things that are popular, they'll try to recreate it, and it'll be wrong. So it's not always
so
a
on that
value to
same
buy
note
it cheap.
about having a pattern, that may be
Yeah, so sometimes if you see it from another place that's cheaper, it's not always, it may look the same,
so in the
but
same,
it's not right.
I agree
Right.
with Candace, because
so do you think in that vein, with having things that are wrong, that may be incorrect but are free, does that actually harm, I'm going to pose this to Elaine, does it actually harm the financial stability of a pattern designer who is putting their patterns out there for purchase? Does the free market have any effect, in your opinion, on pattern designers who only put their patterns out there for purchase?
I don't think it affects, well, let me piggyback. I agree with Candace. Personally, let's say I'm going through YouTube, and Shabby Fabrics is the one that did the words in wool. And the only reason why I purchased it, I never started with wool. I was afraid to even tackle it, but she had tutorials. She actually showed you what she was doing. Plus she offered through her website, a Facebook group. So everybody who purchased was able to chime in and say, well, I like this, I like that, or whatever, or I did this instead of that. I think, I don't know if it harms or hinders in a way, but if something is free, I think I would more gravitate to it if they're offering a demonstration, especially if it's something that I'm not used to doing to begin with. I might get it, and then in the case if I buy a free, get a free pattern, and I get it and I start looking through it and I say, I can't tackle this, then I put it to the side. But even if I purchased it and it looked like it was too difficult, I'd say, okay, when I get more experienced, then I'll come back to that before, But I like when the designers offer a tutorial and accepts your feedback on how they found how you were progressing with it.
Yeah, I think it only hurts them if they don't have it right, because like Elaine said, people will put it to the side and say, well, I'll come back to it when I have time to really read through it or think about it. And then you've moved on to other things, and then you will never buy another one of their patterns because it was too
I'll say, oh,
incoherent.
I didn't do anything with it.
Right. Yeah. So I think it hurts them. I think it only hurts. I think the more open and the more things that they offer to help you finish your project, or you have confidence in sewing their pattern, will help them. It'll give them longevity.
Yeah. Because you'll go back to them again.
Yeah, you'll go back to them.
I've gone back to Shabby and Jordan Fabrics. I purchased things from her, and I like the way she takes time. She used to take time to cut out the fabric. It actually showed you what she was doing, step by step.
Step by step.
Yeah, you felt comfortable. Well, I see what she did, so I know when I get to that point, I'm not going to make that mistake. Or try not to make that mistake.
Exactly. I think it also inserts a level of excitement, like, "Ooh, I want to try that." That's what easy enough for me to do. It won't take that much time because she's like, and I'm like, okay, I could do that. I can take.
Or you can even go back and relook at.
And then you can pause it. And yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
So, if the quilting sewing community expects designers to give away their work, in your opinion, what does that say about how we value creativity from these designers? The expectation is that they give us something.
Okay. In the case of offering, let's say, a free pattern, okay? If they're offering the free pattern and they say, oh, well, I use such and such a fabric. And if you have confidence in that designer, if you've used them before and everything worked out and you have confidence in them, you don't mind purchasing that fabric from them. Instead of, you may have other fabrics that you want to make subsequent ones, but you'd be comfortable purchasing their fabric that they're suggesting. And it's a win-win situation.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah. I don't think that I really expect the pattern designer to give away a free pattern. I think it's
not everybody.
Yeah, I think it's like a little introduction. I see it as an introduction to my patterns. This is what I offer. This is what I do. And a lot of times when you see that it's so well done and so well made, even if it's free, even if it's just a one block of a paper pieced pattern, one star that's paper piece, and it's like very, very easy, very accurate, very easy to read. Or even like with Sally Tomato with her bags, some of it can be very intricate, but she has a video, and even though it's free, you can still see how to do it, and then you purchase more from her because you know that the patterns are correct.
The quality.
Like Elaine said, the quality is good. You don't have to go back. You're not going to mess up your fabric, especially when you're dealing with cork or vinyl. That's a terrible thing to have them holes in the wrong place, and you have to take the whole piece of vinyl or cork out. That's just tragic. So yeah, I agree. You have a good pattern company. If they do one or two free things, I think that's nice. I don't think it should be totally free because, again, like you said, you're valuing their time, you're valuing their expertise and everything they've learned through the years, and what they're offering to you, they need to be paid for it.
I agree.
Do you think that free patterns lower the bar for quality and a really good pattern to work with?
No, I don't think so.
No, what I'm leery of are the ones that not necessarily free, because if I try a free pattern and it doesn't work out, I'm not going back to that site. So you're not going to get $12.99, $18.99, or I'm not going to buy the pattern and the templates from you for about $50, $60. No, I'm not doing it because this free one isn't right. But I think that if you offer, I lost my train of thought. If
lowering the bar.
Yeah, lowering the bar. Okay. Yeah, you're not necessarily lowering the bar. I think what lowers the bar more is that if it's less expensive and it's completely wrong. Yes. I saved $20, but the template, they don't match. My quarter square and my my quarter circle is not matching, and now everything's wonky. Yeah, that's not worth it to me. I'd rather pay what it should be paid, and it's correct. You
get to the point where you don't mind paying for value. Okay, value and quality. So I mean, not an exorbitant amount of money, but
Right. Yeah, because fabric is not inexpensive right now. So I'm not going to save on my template and put it on my $16.99 a yard fabric and then have to rebuy that fabric because that cheap template was wrong or the pattern was wrong. So you're just losing out all the way. The cheap comes out expensive, So It's better, it's better to just, find your tried and true ones that communicate to you, that speak to you as far as like, oh, I understand that clearly. The way they write it is clear to me. And it varies by person. Some things are clear to some people, they're not as clear to others, the way it's written or the way that it's shown or illustrated, so.
And if it's a new technique, it might take your brain a little bit longer just to figure out exactly what.
It's true. It's true. Because, and also that's what the great thing about YouTube is that, you may see something in the, like, okay, let me just say this. Eleanor Burns and that Drunkard's Path in her book with a circle. I was like, what? I was in there, come on, Eleanor, I like your book, but I'm not doing that. So, we're going to get the right template, and do it that way. Cause I need that to be right, from in my mind, but it could be right that could work for a lot of other people, so it's always good to have other options. And that's the great thing about YouTube is like, if you don't understand how they're doing it in whatever pattern you purchase, you can go on YouTube and type in that technique and you can see 2 or 3 different ways to do it that might be easier for you than what's written in the book or the pattern. So yeah, just always find what works for you, and then and tweak it to where it fits within your sewing, your techniques, into your flow of sewing. That's how I feel about it.
Yep.
So let's talk a couple minutes about the cost of purchased patterns. Do you think that the abundance of all of the free patterns available to us has any effect on the cost and pricing of purchased patterns?
I don't think so. Well, personally, if it's a pattern I want, I buy. I don't think so. I don't think so. No. Because if it's a pattern that you like and you're willing to work on it, and you could also think of it as using that pattern more than once. So that would pay for itself, but it all depends on the person. If it's something that they want and they want to try it, if it's not a ridiculous amount of money, then
yeah, I agree. I'm sorry. What was the last part of the question?
It was just about the cost of patterns, and does it affect the fact that there's so many free ones out there? Does it make a difference in what people are charging for patterns that you would purchase?
Right. Yeah. Well, what I seem to find, like with quilting patterns that are free, a lot of them really don't speak to me because they're not as intricate, and you see a lot of the same, because the companies want to get you out there, but they also kind of want to get you out of the way so that you start buying their patterns, so a lot of the free patterns, sometimes they can be a little redundant. Sometimes you can find what I find very interesting border ideas from some of the free patterns that I might try on a pattern I purchased, or something I'm creating, like, oh, okay, I think I like that as a border. It may not even be a border on that piece, but it could be like a block, and I'm like, I'm gonna break that up and make it a border.
Mix and match.
Yeah. So you kind of it can only build on your creativity, I think. That's just how I feel about it. I don't, but I do like the companies that give you a little bit more that's free, because then I will buy from them because they have something, they're showing their skill and, things like that.
I agree with that.
So both of you belong to sewing organizations, quilting organizations. What role do you think that those organizations, your guilds, your sewing groups, your online communities, do they play in shaping the cost or availability of free patterns versus purchase patterns? Do guilds and groups have any effect on that market?
Well, our sewing group offers patterns and tutorials. I still buy outside patterns. I mean, I just blend it. It just melds together. So I wouldn't, if you're asking, do the patterns from our guilds not prevent us, but stop us from shopping like the big fours or whatever? I don't think it does.
Yeah.
It just enhances it. It just enhances it.
Yeah, I think so too. You know, like our guild, we had a after Donna Jordan passed, we had a show and tell at the next meeting or a couple of meetings after that, where we showed our Donna Jordan quilts we've made from her tutorials. You know, so that was really nice to see everybody's quilts and things that they've done from her. And some, like, it was a mix, you know, some was like, oh, I did the border that she showed, but this quilt, it was a different quilt, or I did the entire quilt, you know, from her tutorial. So that's nice. Even though may have been a free pattern, you know, it was just really nice to see that someone had touched so many people in the quilting community, you know. Inspired
you to go.
Inspired. But then also at guilds, you know, like when we do the retreats and things like that, they buy a pattern and buy sometimes their project that they do for the weekend, it's a pattern project, you know. And so I think between doing the free things and the pattern thing, I think it just like Elaine was saying, it just blends together. And I think that with quilters, I think we buy more than we actually get free. So I think that's why there's so many free things out there for quilters.
I can agree.
Anyone who buys a stack of quarters for like $130, you know, you throw something out there every now and then free for us, because, you know, it's not like we're not going to purchase. So.
True. That is true.
So we have a question from the chat. Okay. And the question is, what is your opinion about a guild member purchasing one pattern and then sharing copies with all of the rest of the guild members?
If it's out of print, I think it's okay. Like if it's an old one, like because some people have patterns from, well, I know I do, from 30 years ago that are out of print, you know. When it's out of print, I think it's okay. But if it's current and, you know, it's being sold and people are feeding their families off of it, I don't think that it should, you know, that's a copyright situation. And I don't think that you should do it. You know, our guild is very strict about that, about copyright. So I don't think you should do it. I think you should just go ahead and pay the $18, skip coffee for one day. You don't go to Starbucks one day and pay for the pattern. You know, it's just the right thing to do.
I agree with Candace. Out of print, yes, but not if it's something that you can purchase. I don't think just giving, you know, one person buying and then passing it along. I don't think that's
unfair.
That's not. That is unfair. You know, that is unfair.
We definitely have to be mindful of copyright as well. So that's an important factor. My next question has to do with just the industry in general. We've talked about free patterns. We've talked about purchase patterns. In your opinion, if you're looking in the crystal ball, what do you think the future of patterns is going to be? Is it going to be free, subscription-based, club-based? What do you predict will happen with the industry moving the next 5-10 years? We can start with Elaine.
Okay, well, I've heard that they're going to start. Well, first of all, I'm not a fan of PDFs, printing, and I'm not a fan of that. So if that's the way it's going, I don't know. I've also heard of some digitized something or other that they put up on the
projector.
Something. I'm not in favor of that either. So I'm not sure where it's going. It's kind of iffy. I don't know. I don't know where it's going. I know, people don't like to. I don't know. I think I'll just be settling with what I have and make do.
Well, yeah, like I have enough patterns here.
I think so. I think between my mother and myself, I think I have enough patterns to last me the rest of my life, I think.
Yeah. Well, I think, you can kind of see some of the change now. I mean, if you think about COVID, when COVID happened, right? There was a lot of PDF downloading happening, and I think we've become accustomed to using PDFs and all of that, and the taping and printing together. I prefer the tissue, it's the smell, it's the nostalgia thing. It's like people who like to read the newspaper, touch the newspaper and read it and not read it online. It's one of those things, but to each his own. But the good thing about indie patterns is that you get unique things. So I'll go ahead and tape it together because this is unique. It's not just a basic looking kind of pattern. But I also think that things are going to become, you're starting to see it with the cutters and things. It's going to kind of become a little more, I don't know if it's digitized or if it's going to be something that's going to cut things for you, or almost like that ditto with the projection and illumination. You pay probably for a subscription for X number of patterns, and and then you can just digitize, project it onto your fabric, cut it around it, or either. I think it's going to head somewhere digital or somewhere computerized or somewhere with some cutters. I mean, we already have the Go cutter and all of that. Just think in 5 years where that's going to go, 5 or 10 years, how that may change,
Because, you even see it with houses. You have people building their new houses. They can go on a computer and a laser thing, and it can just show how the room is going to be here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah, the 3D. Yeah. So it's going to be somewhere between the whole projection thing and the cutter thing, between fashion and quilting. I truly believe, where you're just going to have some kind of computerization and things like that. You may not even touch paper to do patterns. I don't want to live to see that though. I like the paper. I like the cutting, the pens. It's all part of it.
It's going to change sewing altogether.
Well, it's a lifestyle that we live. Everything's faster, So to kind of, COVID made a lot of people slow down and then kind of appreciate some things. So you kind of went back to the knitting and the sewing and things like that. But I don't know how much time and things are going to happen in the future, like 10 years, 20 years from now, unless you make it faster, you make the process faster in some way. Yeah.
We shall
This
see.
is my opinion. I don't know. We shall see.
So we're going to talk a little bit about, it's a judgment-free zone and you are entitled. We're going to talk a little bit about cultural considerations. Being that both of you work with Ankara and Dire and batiks and lots of different African fabrics. For any kind of designer who's drawing on African indigenous textile traditions, how do free patterns or purchase patterns, the culture, impact ownership and fair competition? So, for instance, someone who's selling their fabric from Africa versus someone who's printing it in China, culturally, how does the free paid marketplace affect competition among designers and people working with those types of fabrics?
I don't think it's fair that at all. I'm sorry.
Elaine, continue.
Yeah, I don't think it's fair that the people in Africa who are actually crafting these fabrics don't get their just deserves. And others copying off of what they do isn't right. I don't think that should be.
Yeah. Well, I purposely try to purchase Ankara and mudcloth that's sourced from Ghana or Mali, things like that. The batiks that are from Ghana. That's one thing I like about So Creative. They get it from Ghana. That's what I like about Quilt Africa, is that it's being sourced from the source, from Africa, because there are some knockoffs out there that are Chinese and Indonesian, but it's a very complicated history with African fabrics anyway, with the African prints, with it coming from the Dutch invading Indonesia and the Africans that were with them, and it's all kind of because we already had our own type of batik, the Nderi and all of that. And then the blend with when they came back from the war and they liked the fabric, the way the Indonesians did it, and then the Dutch printed it and sold it primarily to Africa. So it's complicated already. But as far as like right now, in these times, I try to purposely, if it says made in Ghana, if it's made
go to the source.
I like to see that, when I'm shopping.
Yes, I agree. Yeah,
I think it's important because even when
it comes to,
go ahead.
Go ahead, finish.
Oh no, it's okay.
So, talking about those types of fabrics and being able to create a quilt design from a free pattern, do free patterns contribute to cultural appropriation by making, culturally rooted designs easily accessible, but giving absolutely no context? So someone could be wearing a symbol that maybe is something that they should not be wearing, and they have no idea what that symbol actually means.
Oh, well, that goes back to, the person needing to be educated as to what they're displaying, so to speak. I would hope that if you're wearing something that's portraying an African symbol, you know what it means and you're doing it for the right reasons. Yeah. I just think it goes back to the person's state of mind.
Yeah. I think as I've gotten older, I believe definitely that it should be. Because, I just had a flashback when you asked that. I don't know if you remember, like in the 80s when the whole, I think it was Chinese symbols, everything. When David Bowie came out and he had like the, the red and white, and everybody wanted to have. We had no idea what that what.
Mhm.
What it was saying, and we was wearing it, and it just seems so disrespectful now that we were walking around wearing like those symbols and things, as you, I guess, as time goes on, you think back like that was really dumb,
Yeah.
because you don't know if you were disrespecting
But it was
someone.
fashionable, so people
It was like, did they even like it as fashion, so that group, that cultural group, that they like it, so yeah, I think I agree with Elaine that you should really know, like, if you have adinkra symbols on, kind of know what it is.
Because I mean, how do you feel if someone says, "Oh, could you tell me the meaning of this symbol?" And you're gonna say, "Duh," but so know what you're.
Yeah, like, well, I don't know, I just thought it was cute, and that's fine too, I guess, if you're okay with it, but I would prefer to know, so that you can also educate other people, because they could be curious. It could be someone from your same cultural background, or someone from a different cultural background. You want to be able to share that, with them, what you know about it,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Or have them enlighten you some more as to it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm.
Do you think it's the responsibility of the designer to educate the person purchasing the pattern
I think so.
as to what
the symbols mean? Yeah, I think that's important.
Yeah, that should be part of the description or whatever when you're
Well,
ordering it or whatever.
we had a woman in our quilt guild who made a adinkra symbol pattern, Barbara Brown, and she had the meanings and the names of the patterns within the pattern, so you knew what the symbol meant, when it was worn, where it was worn. This was part of the court, and this was the warrior. This was, so that you knew what the symbol meant. So even if you wanted to just later add that symbol to a quilt that you're working on, maybe you want to add like a bravery symbol, or you want to add, you'll know which one it is and what it means. So I think that's a very smart thing to do, because not only are you educating the person that's making it, that person can then go on and let the other person know, that may just say, "Oh, that's nice. What does this mean?" Yeah, I think it's their responsibility, to do that.
I agree. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'd like to take a minute or two just to spotlight some of Candace's quilts. She is her own designer. And my question for you would be, as you show us a few of your quilts, can you talk about whether it's a design that you would sell, or someone has approached you asking, can I buy the pattern? Where did you get the pattern? Can you talk just a little bit about your work and inspiration and your pattern design and where those things come from?
Okay. Yeah, I've been approached for about maybe, I think, about 3 of my quilts, whether it was a pattern or whether I had a kit for it, and I'm just like, no, I just saw it, wanted to make it. This looked like my aunt's, so I just wanted to make it pretty and give them their flowers, and I'll show you that in my slides. And this one behind me, someone has, a couple of people have asked me if I had a pattern for my Piece to My People quilt behind me. I also have it on the slideshow. I'll show it to you. You can see it better on the slideshow than you can if I move out of the way. They're just quarter square triangles, but it's something that's easy, but the interesting part is finding the right fabrics for each of the squares. It should be people. We're talking about people, and what are they doing? What are they doing in these different environments? And these are all different scenes in Africa. So I tried to make sure that I put similar fabrics from that region that the squares are representing. I tried to do that when I can, but sometimes the color's just not there, and I have to slide something else in there to make the color match. So I'll go by color. First I'll start with my illustration. Then I start thinking about the fabric. But sometimes I start with the fabric. I see the fabric and I'm like, ooh, I know exactly what I'm going to do with it. Then I'll design the quilt behind that, So let's see. So how do I just hit share or do I?
Yeah, you can just share.
Okay, let's see. Oh, okay. Can you see that? How do I get rid of this rest of this stuff? Do you see my screen?
I do not.
No, okay. All right, let me minimize. Okay, let me hit share again. You have to be patient. I'm so bad at this. Okay. Do you see it now?
You're on your way. Almost.
Okay, it's real light. Let me.
Okay.
Here we go.
A little
Yeah.
Here we go.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh,
Let me go back.
African
Thank you.
sunset. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the African Sunset. That's a paper piece, New York Beauty style quilt. And I don't know if you can see it, but it has people dancing going all the way around it.
Oh, nice. So did you do this from a purchase pattern?
This is from the book, the New York Beauty
Or did
book,
you
Radiant
create the
New York Beauty.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Let's see.
Keep going.
Yeah. Okay. And then this one, the next one this is the one that's behind me right now.
Okay. Mm.
And that's the piece to my people. So, these are quarter square triangles, but like for instance, these are at South African women here. So I have the shwe fabric going around them. These are like this fabric here is representing like the Zulus, also South Africa. This is more so like a Caribbean group of ladies. And then down here, this yellow was like Gambia. This was Kenya. So I have some kente and stuff around there. And I do things very similar to my mother. We always try to add a little bit of Black Lives Matter in there. A little strip of Black Lives Matter here and there in our quilts. But yeah, that's just like my piece to my people. And I did the Pan-African red, black, and green going around the edges just to kind of tie it all together.
Nice. Very nice.
Thank you. Okay, and then this is the other one I get requests for quilt. This is my auntie's. And these were placemats. These faces were supposed to be for placemats. And when I saw the faces, they reminded me of my aunts on my father's side. Their cheeks, their expressions, And I made little petals around them. I wanted to give them their flowers in a sense,
Nice.
Because they do, those aunties always do so much for everybody, but kind of sometimes are overlooked, that kind of thing. So that's why I did that one. And I too like traditional.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice.
This is say their names, and I kind of blended cricket words in here. Let's see if I can blow this up. I don't know, but I have victims of police brutality and vigilantes during how almost every other day there was someone being killed, a black person being killed.
Well, ladies, we have run out of time for today's discussion. I'd like to thank Elaine and Candace for their participation in today's discussion. And I just want to let you know that what you shared with us adds to all of our collective wisdom. It gives insight to the way we create and how we show up for each other and how we carry the tradition of quilting forward. I also want to encourage everyone to keep on reflecting on what we talked about and what resonates with you today and carry it back to your daily lives, your quilt groups, your sewing rooms, and just your overall daily practice. Thanks again, Elaine and Candace, for lending your voices and your expertise to today's topic. And until next time, have a great day.